When female Japanese prisoners of war arrived in American custody during the final stages of World War II, they carried with them not only hunger and exhaustion, but a deep anxiety shaped by years of rigid military culture and propaganda that insisted surrender meant humiliation and the complete erasure of personal identity. And among the many small details they feared losing was something profoundly symbolic: the right to eat in their own way, with their own customs, because they had been taught that captors would deliberately strip prisoners of dignity to assert dominance. Yet in American POW camps, one quiet moment would leave a lasting impression on many of these women, when they were handed meals and, instead of being forced to use unfamiliar utensils or mocked for their traditions, were offered chopsticks, or at the very least permitted to use them without comment. An act so simple that it seemed almost insignificant to the camp staff, but carried enormous emotional weight. For the prisoners, for women who had endured years of strict hierarchy, punishment, and conformity under Japanese military authority, where even small deviations could be met with harsh discipline, the realization that their captors respected such a personal cultural practice was deeply disorienting, because it contradicted everything they had been told about the enemy and about captivity itself. Eyewitness accounts and later testimonies describe the moment vividly, as women hesitated before eating, unsure whether the allowance was real or a test, and then slowly began to use their chopsticks, exchanging glances of disbelief as no one intervened, laughed, or objected, and the absence of control became as powerful as any gesture of kindness, signaling that their identity had not been erased by surrender. American camp administrators, guided by Geneva Convention standards and a broader philosophy of humane treatment, often made quiet accommodations to reduce stress and maintain order. Understanding that respecting basic cultural habits could improve morale and stability, but for the Japanese women, the meaning went far beyond administration, because eating with chopsticks was tied to memory, home, and normal life before the war, and being allowed to do so restored a sense of self that had been suppressed by years of militarization. As meals continued, the women noticed that Americans did not demand forced assimilation or obedience beyond basic camp rules, and that personal customs, language, eating habits, even small rituals, were tolerated rather than punished, reinforcing the sense that captivity did not automatically mean degradation. Some women later recalled that this moment, more than interrogations or lectures, began to unravel the fear they had carried, because it demonstrated that authority could exist without humiliation, and strength without cruelty, a realization that challenged deeply ingrained beliefs about power and honor. Conversations among the prisoners gradually shifted from whispered fear to cautious reflection, as they discussed how the Americans seemed confident enough not to need dominance over every detail of their lives, and how this quiet confidence felt fundamentally different from the rigid control they had known. Historians note that such small cultural recognitions often had outsized psychological effects on POWs, helping them stabilize emotionally and begin the slow process of recovery, especially for women whose identities had been defined by obedience and sacrifice rather than individuality. Decades later, in memoirs and interviews, some former POWs admitted that being allowed to eat with chopsticks was one of the first moments they felt human again, because it reminded them that they were still themselves, not just prisoners or enemies, and that their captors saw them as people capable of dignity. In the broader story of World War II, these moments rarely appear in official records, yet they reveal how the outcome of war is shaped not only by battles and surrender documents, but by everyday choices made afterward, showing that for female Japanese POWs, the simple act of eating a meal in their own way became a powerful symbol of respect, cultural recognition, and the unexpected humanity they encountered in American camps, quietly dismantling years of fear and leaving behind a memory that endured long after the war itself had ended.